Hey, what's up? Last night I was at work and I was thinking about why is it that when people want to do aspirational travel, it seems to always be like pulling teeth. Then I realized that no one's really putting steps together. So I figured I would come up with some great steps, at least 5 of them, to give you the ultimate aspirational travel redemption experience. If you follow these 5 steps, it will make your life easier. But I'm gonna let the kid do her thing. We will get right into it, and I guarantee you will get some value after this.
Welcome back to my dad's channel. If you're new here, make sure to click that like button and subscribe, and don't forget to share.
Now, here's the thing. A lot of people talk about, you know, aspirational travel, and it's kind of like a buzzword in the credit card community. So you hear it all the time. Hey, I want to get this card for one day. I can make an aspirational trip, or I can do some aspirational travel. And it becomes very vague and general. That being because it's one thing to say it, and it's another thing to actually get it done. Finding award availability, knowing what sites you can cross book, one carrier to another carrier's metal, like all of those things come into play. So, with all of that being considered, before we get into the steps, let's go ahead and establish some baseline knowledge. Now, when I'm talking to you, I am of the understanding that A, you have credit cards, B, you have credit cards that earn convertible miles and or points, and C, you understand through those credit cards who your transfer partners are. Now, all transfer partners are not created equal. Some of them you can only transfer via one credit card, like you can only transfer to American Airlines if you have the Bilt card. No other card transfers directly to American Airlines. You get what I'm saying? Or Qatar Airways, you need a Citi card because nobody else transfers directly to Qatar Airways. Conversely, you have programs like Flying Blue from Air France KLM. Everybody transfers to them. And I mean everybody. So that will definitely make your life easier regardless of what credit issuer that you're currently using. So let's just get that baseline out of the way. And then we are going to get into exactly what it takes to make your life easier booking aspirational travel. So the first step, and it's probably not one that you're gonna think should be the first step, but trust me, you'd be surprised how often and how quickly this can change. Find your location. You need to know your location. Where are you going? What country are you going to? It's important, especially if you go to places like Europe where there are a lot of countries mashed together and it's easy to travel between them. You need to know where you're going, where are you flying into, if you're doing what's called an open jaw flight, where are you flying into, where are you flying out of. This part is important. And then when you decide your location, you drill down to a city, you really do need to plan what landmarks, where are you gonna stay in the city, where's the nearest mass transit, how easy is it to get to and from the airport. This part is very important because there will be people who will plan a trip and then next thing you know, they get this great hotel deal, everything is all set, but when they get there, they're 45 minutes away from everything. So now it's a hassle just to go be a tourist. And then you come to find out you're walking past hotels that would have put you in the middle of everything, saved you a ton of money on public transportation and or Uber. So you definitely want to plan your location. You want to find out what your hotspots in crime are. You get what I'm saying here? The fact is that we are in 2023. This is not guesswork anymore. You don't have to have someone back in the old country to tell you how things have changed. We have all this information at the tip of our fingers in our phone, so you can find out what's going on and when it's happening in the places that you would like to visit. Set a starting point and just make a radius, see what hotel falls into it or what accommodations fall into it, and you can plan your location. Always scout your location. And then just in case it changes, just repeat the process for your alternate location. And also, that location scouting goes for any place that you want a day trip away from the place that you are, desiring to stay planted at. For instance, we took a day trip to London when we went to Paris. We went ahead and scouted what we wanted to see in London before we went there. So that way you're not just walking around confused. So my second tip for this guide is to plan when you are going to go on your trip. Plan when it's going to start, when it's going to end. And here's the important part. If you plan in advance, try to give yourself a couple of buffer days. Now, this is bonus game because when I say buffer days, if you're going to stay for a week, you can pick a week, but maybe you adjust that week from Friday to Friday to Monday, or Wednesday to Wednesday. And the reason I'm saying is to have that flexibility, because what can happen is when you start looking up your redemption rates for a lot of these flights, sometimes the difference of a day can save you thousands of dollars in points, especially if you start looking through flight calendars that some airline carriers have. So if it's worth it, why would you want to go from Monday to Monday if you can save 20, 30, 40, 50, 60,000 points going from Wednesday to Wednesday? Or in some cases, you may end up having to stagger it. Maybe you go from a Monday to a Tuesday, or even if you shorten it, Tuesday to a Friday. And then what you can do is actually plan an even more awesome return flight. So make sure you give yourself some flexibility, a couple of buffer days when you plan your trip. Trust me, you will thank me later, especially when you see some of the calendars on some of these sites. Now, the third step. This one is going to be a big one, because this one tends to be the most cost intensive part of aspirational travel. I say tends to be because it's not always, depending on where you're going, but most of the time, this is the roughest part. And that is, you want to plan your flight before you plan your accommodations. Trust me, do the flight first. Do not plan a trip around a certain hotel or even a certain location, hotel location or Airbnb location because trust me, your flight availability can throw a monkey wrench in your whole program before you even know it. So trust when I say, plan around your flight. Plan your flight first. Once you've scouted your location, once you know the winds, you definitely want to plan your flight first. And there are, a couple of reasons why, and I'm going to run through them. Now, the first thing you want to do is actually figure out what airline you want to fly, and more importantly, what alliance that airline belongs to. So how you want to do that, you want to run a Google Flights from whatever location you're flying from, if you're positioning or if you're flying from a home hotel to wherever you're going, to see what routes are available. Then you'll get a list of carriers, and then whatever carrier you decide, you need to find out what alliance they are with. This part is extremely important because there are pretty much only 3 major alliances in the world, not in the United States, but in the entire world. Some airline belongs to some alliance. In a couple of off cases, they don't, but they still do code shares. So understand what airline you want and what alliance they belong to. I've also done a video explaining said alliances, so I'll go ahead and link that here as well. Now, once you've established your airline, what I would highly suggest you do, most people, of course, when they go on vacation, they do plan on coming home. That much is a no-brainer. But I have found that award availability is much easier to find when you are booking one-way trips. So instead of booking round trips, and I'm not saying that round trips on points redemptions are not available, they are, but you tend to find more availability much easier if you book 2 one-ways. And then it also gives you versatility based on when it is that you want to come back and where you may want to come back into. Now, the other thing with booking one-ways instead of round trips is that it's also much easier if you are traveling with a player 2 or family members, because like I said, these airlines, they release very few award flights because they want cash. They don't want smart people like us using our points and paying $50 for a $15,000 plane seat. They don't really want that to be, the way of the world. So they're only going to release a few seats. So the best way to do it, grab a one-way. That's going to be your best availability option. Now, here's the other part. The reason that finding out what alliance the carrier that you're going to fly belongs to is so important is because in each alliance, all carriers aren't created equal. And then furthermore, their travel programs are not created equal. For instance, and here's some bonus game here, so you may want to scribble this down. If you want to fly a Star Alliance carrier, for instance, let's go with maybe Egypt Air or Swiss Air is another one, Avianca. You may be able to get that flight much cheaper by booking it through Air Canada as opposed to booking through United, which is also a Star Alliance carrier. Now, in my experience, when I want to see Star Alliance availability, especially Star Alliance availability way out months and months into the future, one of the best sites that I use is Air Canada, and I look through their Aeroplan program. Through Aeroplan, they tend to have lower points requirements and lower taxes. You just have to pay them in Canadian dollars. Use an Amex, they give you the best transfer rate. And then also, if you want to book short notice international flights, one of the best Star Alliance carriers to book that through is actually going to be lifemiles.com, which is run by Avianca. They too are a Star Alliance carrier. So that's just something to think about here. Those are the best ones. I mean, yeah, you'll find some diamonds in the rough on United or some of the other Star Alliance carriers, but I'm just talking about by and large, when you are new to the game, LifeMiles and Aeroplan or aircanada.com, they're going to be your best bets, and they're going to make it easy to find, and you'll be able to see exactly what you're paying and book them very quickly. Now, in the case of One World Alliance, your best sites to look at are going to be AmericanAirlines.com or AA.com and BritishAirways.com. And the reason being, even though British Airways is notorious, absolutely notorious for having such high fees and things, you can still look for other carriers through British Airways because they make it very easy to find reward bookings. And easier still is American Airlines because they still have their travel calendar. So you can actually click on the calendar and put a route in, and if you know what route that you want to fly, let's say Q Suites on, which is Qatar Airways, which is a One World partner, if you put that direct route in, you can actually search on the calendar for the first available one. It may not be for months, but at least you'll know where it is. And if you have American Airlines points from Bilt, you can book it straight through there, or you can just use Avios and do a cross booking from British Airways. Now, for the Delta Sky team, I found the easiest sites to navigate are going to be Delta to find out availability, but you don't want to book through there because unless your flight is originating out of another country to another country, you don't get the best value from your Sky Miles. Period. It's been proven. So like if you're in like South Texas or something, you want to fly out of Mexico, you'll get great value for your Sky Miles, but you have to weigh the opportunity costs there. But with Delta, because they are such a large carrier, you can see the availability of routes operated by partner airlines, and it's very easy to find out, simply stated, if a plane goes to where you want it to go. So now, as far as bookings go, the two programs I've booked with that I've found easiest to do award redemptions is with Air France and with Virgin Atlantic. Now, here's the trick with Virgin Atlantic. Understand that Virgin Atlantic is based in the UK, so when you're looking for things out of the US, make sure you kind of concentrate on Delta hubs and Sky Team hubs, and that'll make it easier for you to find redemptions. But they have great rates. Taxes are low unless you're flying into or through England at any time whatsoever, then they're going to hit you hard. Now, for the last part of this is you want to verify your transfer partners with your issuers. Like I said earlier, you pretty much should have a handle on this. You need to find out how many points you have. You should also have a handle on that. And you also need to know that you can actually call and put flights on hold if you're trying to build up points or if you're trying to get points. And when you call airlines, sometimes, just sometimes, they can actually give you a better points rate over the phone than you will even see online. All avenues to finding redemptions are not the same. So you definitely want to hold flights. In some cases, you may have to call internationally in order to hold a dream flight that you want. So you definitely want to verify that, make sure you have the points. And here's the other caveat is depending on your card issuer, make sure you know how long it will take for the points to get from your card issuer to your travel partner. In most cases, it's instantaneous. When I did it with Virgin, it was instantaneous. I think it took 3 minutes for me to do it with Air France, but in some cases, Luke's Points and Miles actually made mention of the fact that in one case, I think it took it like 48 hours for the points to go over. So that part is very important. If you find a booking, chances are you probably want to call, put it on hold, get the points over, and then maybe call back and just have them apply it right out of your account unless it's instantaneous. With all that being considered, the last reason you want to plan your flights is because they are much easier to switch on short notice. You can change hotels much easier than you can change flights, especially award bookings. It gets really hairy, so you definitely want to make sure you have that set in stone before you go on your trip. Now, number 4. Your accommodations. Let's talk accommodations. Are you staying in an Airbnb? You staying with family? You staying with friends? You staying at a hotel? If so, what brand of hotel? What loyalty program will you be using? This is where the hotel comes into play because it's much more flexible. Now, here's what you need to consider with your hotel. If you are staying at a hotel, and that's what I'll be referring to because that's what I stay at is hotels, which loyalty program will you be using? Are you going to be using your Hyatt loyalty? Are you going to be your Hilton Honors, your Marriott Bonvoy? Are you going to be staying at a Choice Hotel, IHG? You need to plan that in advance because that goes into your location scouting, whichever is best for you. That way you can get the best rate possible. Now, speaking to the best rate possible, understand another thing that makes accommodations much easier is that with certain credit cards, you literally buy your way into high status. So most cards will get you a gold, a platinum elite status. In the case of the Hilton Aspire card, you literally get a credit card and you automatically get their highest possible status, period. So you can buy your way right in, which leads to complimentary upgrades. You definitely want to remember to ask and be polite. And you can actually get buku value from both your credit card and every dollar that you may or may not spend at any of these hotels that you plan for your trip. Now, another piece of free game with that is, as far as hotel points go, if you find that you are short on hotel points and you do not want to pay cash, you want to pay points, you've just decided they're not getting any of your hard-earned dollars, fine. What I'm going to tell you is that normally if you can find a deal to buy hotel points at a bonus in bulk, it's almost always better than trading your transferable credit card points for hotel points because most of the ratios aren't that great anyway. So you definitely want to look for those. And then if you want to, execute at top tier, maybe you have your hotel card that you still have a sub for, you use it to buy points for that hotel, helps your sub, deposits more points into your account, and then, that's using your noodle there. So that's definitely something you want to keep in mind as far as accommodations are concerned. Now, for my last tip, use any and all points transfer bonuses you can get your hands on. Bilt just had a 1-for-1 with Flying Blue KLM. That Flying Blue KLM, that's Air France's rewards. I got a notification that Amex was giving 20% extra for points transferred for I think it's like Asian miles or Asiana miles through Cathay Pacific. Use the transfer programs. They're literally just, if you don't, that's just money you're leaving on the table. And we know how I feel about leaving money on the table. Give me that. So you definitely want to use all transfers that you have. Now, your question is going to be, oh, well, I don't know when the transfer bonuses are going to be. I get it. But understand, depending on when you're planning your trip, you don't have to plan it tomorrow. You can give it some time, you can wait, you can check websites like Flyer Talk and such and what have you, and you can see when the new transfer bonuses are out. I just hate Google. That's what I do. So you can see when the transfer bonuses are out, and maybe you can tailor your trip to take advantage of a transfer bonus. I literally just did that exact same thing with my most recent Air France redemption. So I got 2 business tickets from Atlanta to Milan for what was supposed to be 70,000 points a person. I got it for 56,000 MR points a person. So there it is, period. That's how you extract value, which will drive your cent per point valuations up. So that's been my 5-step plan on the best way to start booking aspirational travel. So you have a lot of people, like I said, they like to talk about it and they like to talk about redemptions and cent per point and who got this and who got that and this and that, whatever. As I stated before, I am all about the entire experience, redemption to reaction. I don't want to hear about how you got it and not hear about how you enjoyed it, and vice versa. So this way we can get you from the beginning all the way to the end, and then you can come on here, start making YouTube videos and get a bunch of views, and you can tell people that Chad's Money Minutes gave you the roadmap on booking aspirational travel. Now, if you stuck around to the end of the video, I super duper appreciate you, and I hope to see you in the next one. And maybe on some lives we can talk about some of the redemptions, and definitely as I do redemptions, I will be sharing it with you. I hope you enjoyed it, and please leave anything in the comments that you would like to add. I do like the interaction and I appreciate the input. But until next time, I'll see you later.